All right, the first question is, do you endorse any of Obama's views?
I do, yeah. I think Barack Obama is a good family man. I think he truly wants to get people back on their feet. So do I. So we have a lot of similarities there. You know, I can't get there with all of his views, but let me be honest, you probably didn't expect me to say I would. I do believe we need to have health care for more people. I just like a private solution versus a federal solution. I just don't like one more way we're going to bankrupt America, and we're darn close. And I'd rather just be honest with people and say we need to bring down hospital costs. We need to encourage people to go to urgent care facilities versus emergency rooms. We need to get the cost of legal medicine. In other words, people worried about getting sued, so you get more tests because of that. It's called defensive medicine. And I think we could bring down the cost of health care substantially. But I think it needs to be done by the private sector, not the federal sector. I think he has the vision that people want to be insured, so I agree with that. I worry about families, and you know, I think he does too. I can't get there on all of it. I think I've had more experience than he's had. But I think he is a decent family man, and I respect him for that.
That's good.
I got one question for you.
Well, hold on a second.
We're going.
We've got a whole list of questions here that people put together.
Okay.
So she's filling them out. Thank you, though. All right. I don't know if you're aware of this statistic, and it really kind of plugs into this question, but in the city of St. Louis, 1/3 of the population, almost 1/3 of the population is considered impoverished, 90,000 people.
Can't hear you back here.
I'm sorry. Almost 1/3 of the population of the city of St. Louis, 90,000 people, which is a little bit less than 1/3, is considered living in impoverished conditions. So how can you help in terms of creating jobs in the city of St. Louis? And obviously you're a job provider in the city of St. Louis.
Well, I think you know, I want to help people that want to help themselves, okay? I want to help people that are looking for jobs. I want to bring more businesses into St. Louis and into Missouri. And the only way we're going to do that is to level the playing field with our neighboring states. We're at 0% growth for 3 years in a row. Even Illinois, with 2 governors in prison and $15 billion in the red, is growing faster than we are. So we can be in denial or do something about it. I think we need to create more opportunities for people, and the only way we're going to be able to do that is get businesses moving here versus moving out. And that is something I do. I've been doing it all my life. I know how to I think the best source of new businesses is going to be existing Missouri businesses. We can't have what happened to Stephanie happen to other businesses. We need to have businesses expand. And we've got to bring back the legal environment to be sane for businesses. We need to bring down the cost of businesses in our state. And I think we need to inspire versus require. And I think that if we can inspire businesses to grow here, and I will fight like a son of a gun to do it. But I just think throwing tax credits and things that aren't in sustainable jobs long term don't make sense. We have a great medical business here. We need to be encouraging the medical business to expand. We have great universities here. The demographics of an older population, there are opportunities. However, we've got to have a trained workforce. And the only way we're going to do that is to have our 2-year and 4-year colleges affordable for people of all income sectors. And I don't think they are right now. Right now, the student debt is choking almost everybody.
The city of St. Louis is one of only 2 cities in the entire country that does not control its police department. Matter of fact, the only 2 cities in the entire country that don't control their police department is St. Louis and Kansas City, the state of Missouri. So what is your position on Proposition A and the local police control issue?
Well, that proposition goes back to the Civil War. It's dated. There used to be concerns about who was controlling the pension. I think those have been resolved now. I think it needs to come back to local control. I think it's just common sense. I think it puts too much control with the governor to make appointments and play God out of Jeff City, and I think it needs to come back to St. Louis. You need to be able to control your own destiny.
Great. Okay, this is another Obama-related question. If
you're
elected, and Obama is elected to another term, is there some way, bipartisan way, you two may be able to work together?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, first of all, you have to put the best interests of the state and the country ahead of yourself. And I would absolutely work with whoever is president, whoever is our senator, whoever are elected officials. I'm a mature person. And you've got to, I don't like petty politics as well as you do. I think it's killing our country. I think we got to stop the finger pointing and get along and get things done at the end of the day.
Great. Good answer.
You
All
approve,
right.
you approve so far.
So far. You want me to tell you when I don't?
Yeah, I'll just hide over here.
All right. I'm sure you've heard this question before. Why should I vote for Dave Spence?
I'm going to tell you from the heart, because I think it's what is said from the heart is received from the heart. I put my pants on just like you. I've had many, many blessings in this life, as well as you have to even be here. But one thing I'll tell you, I'll work for every citizen, and I'll work for every region of the state. And we need to finally put the special interests aside and the people pulling the strings because they're writing the checks. We need to put them to the side and finally do what's right for Missouri. There are states with great leadership around us. Indiana's one, Louisiana's one. They're around us. And we need somebody to go in there and fight for every Missouri job, every Missouri citizen, and be honest. And that's what I give you. And my wife is my shining star. She wants to take on education. I want to take up on economic development. It is the perfect combination. I have the skill set to do it. I have the courage to do it. And I have the energy to do it. And I also, more importantly, I have the ethics to do it. And I would make you proud.
Great, great. Well, I am glad you asked about, you said something about education, because one of the questions is, will you help get St. Louis schools back in terms of accreditation?
Well, I think our actions speak louder than any answer. We've been involved for 6 years down at Roosevelt with Rough Riders. We went there with all the great intentions of trying to find the solution. You know, nobody's going to I think people make the mistake. Somebody's going to helicopter in and solve all the problems. I think the solutions are there, but you have to have your 2 ears open to hear about the solution from the community. And what we heard loud and clear was the biggest source of tardies and also dropouts was health care. That somebody gets sick and they don't come back. Well, we formed a not-for-profit called Community Alliance Reinvigorate Education. My wife and I funded the first part of it, and through that, we were able to get to Boeing, who gave a grant to open up Mercy Healthcare Clinic in Roosevelt. Yeah. You know, I think our actions are there. It's not just empty suit, empty promises. We've been there. Through that, we've been able to get St. Louis U and Wash U social work down there with caseworkers to try to solve the problems. You're not going to solve all the problems. You're really not. Some of those situations have been going on for a long time and your heart bleeds for them. But the only way some of those people are going to get back on their feet is to have a job and a future. Also, this past year at Roosevelt, out of 140 graduating, my wife and I led a team to find jobs for kids that didn't have the ability or the willingness to go to college. And we found jobs for 110 of 140 graduates at Roosevelt High School. You know, they're out there, and there's other courageous people like ourselves and willing to give of themselves. They just need to be asked. And we'd be willing to ask as many people as possible, because it's not just Roosevelt, it's all the other schools in St. Louis City School, plus it's Kansas City and Normandy and Riverview. So I think our actions have spoken louder than any empty answer somebody can give. We've been there, done that, and I think our results with the provisional accreditation of about 3 weeks ago is a great start to hopefully many more victories down the road.
Okay. Well, in line with that question, because we know there is an intimate tie between education and crime, how would you impact crime as governor? Did you all hear that?
Not for real.
Not for real? Just partially? All right. I asked him, essentially I said, there's an intimate relationship between education and crime. And so what would he do to also help with the crime problem that we have in the city?
Well, again, hey, I've not walked in your shoes, so I'm not going to tell you I have. But what I do know is that I think a lot of it is economic boredom. Is that because of lack of jobs and lack of opportunities, and then lack of a career path with a job at the end, people turn to crime. I mean, let's just be realistic about it. So I think you can only marshal in so much, but I think the best thing we can do is provide opportunities to help themselves, and hopefully some of those people that have turned to crime would find more fulfillment and joy and self-worth in working or finding a career or finding a career path than they would in crime. So I think, you know, I hate to be so simplistic, but I think it all starts with opportunities to get out of the situation you're in and we're simply not creating those. In fact, they're shrinking.
You have a almost 100% African-American audience, except for a few. The question is, in this particular case, will you help African-Americans get jobs?
Well, first of all, the jobs have to be there, okay?
I need a microphone. I said,
Just yell it out.
will he help African-Americans get jobs?
Well, first
Sorry.
of all, you can't invent jobs. There have to be companies here that want to hire people, or institution, or hospitals, or nursing homes. There has to be opportunity. You just can't say as a government, hey, how about a job? And so the only way we could do that is to have our economy grow. Bottom line. I mean, when there's more supply of labor than demand, guess what? Wages stay soft and people don't have jobs. Now, I would tell you, our workforce at Alpha in St. Louis is 65% African American. Okay? Right, George? So I have no qualms. I have no issues. But we can't just can't invent jobs as a government. We have to have the private sector to have the jobs. So I have no issues with it, but it's also part of an overall strategy. You just can't say flip a switch, hey, here's 100,000 jobs. We need to inspire the community, inspire the business leaders to expand their businesses, move here. We need to have the trainings. If somebody wants to be a medical technician or a nurse or factory worker or a truck driver or whatever they want to do, there's no limitation. We just have the opportunities that they have the conduit, they have the conversation, and they have the opportunity. And I'd be willing to provide that in any way possible, whether it be career training, assistance getting to a job, do whatever. We will do whatever it takes to get people working, because we need to break the cycle of poverty in a lot of families. And also, keep in mind, there will probably be a lot less tug on social services if people are working.
Good answer. What plans do you have for housing?
Well, gosh, I don't know. That's right now. That's more of a federal issue as far as housing. I don't know what specifically you want me to answer, but a lot of it is based upon availability. I think we've given a lot of tax credits for housing that's outside of St. Louis. I'd like to see some of those, if we're going to spend tax credits, rebuild some of the housing that's in St. Louis. We've let the housing base go down quite a bit. Some of them are owned by landlords that are just working the system to the nth degree and not taking care of the houses. A lot of it is a city issue or federal issue. State issue, I'd be willing to dive in there and say, hey, if we're going to give tax credits, they need to be in areas that need improvement, need a bump. That would be my source. I just don't think the government should go in and build houses. I think it needs to be private sector.
But let me say this to you before Mr. Spence closes, and then we'll have a few words from the pastor. What's real important that took place today is not about Republican or Democrat or red or blue or green or yellow. It's about having somebody that's interested in listening to you and interested in addressing the special concerns that you have. All too often, we are so tied up with are they a Democrat, are they a Republican, as opposed to, has this person listened to me? Has this person tried to fix some of the problems? Some of the greatest politicians in this state that has ever had have been people that have come to our community, sat down, and acted on the problems that have affected our community. Kip Bond, there's the housing development over in the 3rd Ward. How many of you know where the 3rd Ward is? Every Democrat in the state said no. Kip Bond said we're going to make it happen. And so consequently, you have 300 new units of housing that's clean, safe, and affordable for people. And in 15 years, people can buy them, and they will buy them at the same cost that they're paying rent for. That's because people are visionaries. We need to have people who are willing to come and remember what I talked about earlier. We were sent somebody who's willing to listen. Don't turn your back on him just because he might have one particular view that you don't like, because he's got a whole bunch more that he really is in line with you on. So with that, Mr. Nixon, his chair's gone. Well, that leaves you. So, Mr. Spence.
Well, I agree. You may not agree with it 100%, and that's what makes the world go round. But if you want somebody who cares, somebody who will give you everything they have, will tell you the truth, will run the government a little bit different. I'm not going to be running it for special interests. I'm going to be running it for Missourians of all kinds. So, my wife and I are very giving people. We're very Christian people. We're church-going people. We pray, we love, and we find great joy in giving to others and giving our time. If you want somebody who will actually be here and answer the questions and tell you the truth and work hard for you, if you want somebody who cares about St. Louis deeply, not just come to a Cardinals game to get a photo op, but actually lives here and works here and raised his family here and has his ancestors here and has his ancestors buried in this state, that's me. If you want to have somebody who is colorblind, that's me. My actions have spoken loudly over the years. If you want somebody, my wife and I have probably done more for the African American community between Roosevelt and the other things were Herbert Hoover's Boys Club than Jay Nixon has done in his entire life. We do more in 1 year. Jay Nixon only comes into the city of St. Louis for a photo op or giving away some money that he had nothing to do with. I'm not an empty suit. I'm a man filled with passion, pride, integrity, and I truly want to be a person you're proud of, that you can look, say, I know that man, and I know what he stands for, and somebody who will truly fight to get Missouri back on its feet, to get you back on your feet if you need it, and will represent you as a fellow Missourian. So thank you very much, and God bless you.
Question? Write it down. Okay, well, she's gonna make the announcement. All right, let me have a seat, guys. Have a seat. We have. Give me 1 second. I should have asked this question to begin with. How many registered voters do we have in the room? How many of you have voted so far? How many of you have voted so far? How many of you plan to vote? Okay. How many of you plan to vote for Spence?
This is an absentee ballot. I just voted for you.
All right.
That's the exact man. Follow his lead. He won't lead you wrong most of the time.